welcome to my weekly video blog for today. And you may have noticed for the past week that I have vanished, seemingly vanished. People will know that despite the fact I'm not huge anymore on Matthew's forum, so to speak, I still have a very large online presence. Possibly not as large as my physical presence, but there we are. Maybe for the best. And it would be very unheard of for me not really to be posting, at least on Facebook, every single day, multiple times. Unless, of course, I'd given warning that I wasn't going to be around. Now, I'm actually in Devon on a family holiday to Torbay with my family. And the reason that I gave no warning for this is that it was a surprise for my nan. My nan is approaching her 90th birthday, and she and my grandfather went here for their honeymoon. So my parents thought it would be nice to bring her back down, and gave her the idea that she was going to go on a week's holiday to relive some of the sites, and I believe she has. She's had a look at where they went, the hotel they went to, which has since burned down, in fact, but she says the view's still there. I do apologise for the wind. What she didn't know is the rest of the family was joining her as well. So we all made our way down and decorated the house for her arrival on Saturday. This means I had to be a bit stum on Facebook because there was a possibility that people could absent-mindedly mention it to her and ruin the surprise. It does, of course, mean that for those of you who don't live locally and knew that I was on my retreat holiday this week, another thing I mentioned in passing but kept quite quiet, you may have think that I'd fallen off the face of the earth. So this is Torbay, and more specifically Paignton, which is one of the larger towns around the bay. And the plan is I'm not quite sure what we're going to do this week, really. I think we're probably going to spend a lot of time exploring the bay's coast. There are several towns around, lots of beaches like this to have a look at, including, in fact, Paignton Pier, which you can see up there. I've already been along there, and there's a little eatery at the end there, which has one of my favourite places in this whole area. During this week, we are each spending a day alone with Nan, taking her somewhere to spend some quality time. I'm going to a place in Torbay, which is the main town on the bay, and it's basically a marine zoo on top of an aquarium. And when I mean a marine zoo, I mean it's got seals, it's got penguins, it's got otters, and it's got a whole array of foreign seabirds. So it looks like one giant aviary, because obviously there has to be room for them to fly around. But they've got to be stopped from flying away. So we're going to do that. My sister Rosie is going to be taking my nan on a road trip around the bay and more inland to Dartmoor, which is basically, we're on the coast and Dartmoor's sort of inland from here. And my sister Tiffany, I think, is going to take her to the next bay along, which is Dartmouth, for a river crossing there by ferry. My parents, I think, are taking her to Holme, which is the place where one of her sisters lived at some point. So she's basically having a right tour of the place. And of course we're going to have the big 90th birthday celebratory meal as well. We're here until Saturday, so we come down and depart on the Saturday. So this blog, I suppose, is dedicated to that. I've called it vintage because it's better than calling it old age, isn't it? It's more like vintage. She's far more like a vintage wine, I think, or a vintage sherry than old. You know, we have got a wheelchair for her because we felt that she's not frail at all. She can walk perfectly well. But for time's sake, it's better to pop her in a chair, push her to get her from A to B as quickly as possible, and then let her get out and wander as slow as she wants when we get there, just to save time, because obviously we are only down here for a week. Anyway, this clamshell. Look at that. It's even hinged. I think I've still got the hinge with it. Yep, still got the hinge. Lovely. Absolutely lovely.